Sometimes, it feels like we're alone. In our rooms. On a quiet balcony. Walking down an empty street late at night. But are we really alone? Because somewhere inside our minds, there's a courtroom. And the strange thing is, we're not the judge. The judges are the people sitting on the other side of our screens. I call this the ghost audience. These are the thousands of invisible eyes that quietly live in a corner of our minds. They're always watching. When we choose clothes, a small thought appears. How would this look in a photo? When we buy a new book, another thought whispers. That cover looks aesthetic, maybe I should share it. Without realizing it, we've built an entire crowd inside our own heads. And pleasing that crowd has slowly become a full-time job. Think about something for a moment. When you wake up in the morning and look into the mirror, are you really seeing yourself? Or are you seeing the version of yourself that you want the world to see? Because this ghost audience is quietly censoring our lives. We begin liking the food that looks beautiful on a plate. We choose places to visit because the background looks perfect. And somewhere along the way, the person who once didn't care about any of this disappears. The child who danced in the rain, not because it looked good on camera, but because the smell of wet earth pulled them outside. Somewhere along the way, we traded being real for looking good. And the saddest part is, this ghost audience is never satisfied. No matter how polished the photo is, no matter how perfect the caption sounds, the crowd always wants something newer, something better, something more impressive. Now, ask yourself honestly, if the internet disappeared tomorrow, if there was no one left to watch, would you still live your life the same way you do today? Would you still go to the same places? Choose the same things? Or would you finally breathe a little easier, because the ghost audience was gone? But let's go a little deeper. Today, all of us have become editors. We stop seeing reality as it is. Instead, we start seeing it as something that could become a perfect image. We don't feel the moment. We adjust it. Exposure a little lower. Saturation a little higher. And before we realize it, the real moment disappears from our eyes, while a perfect version appears on the screen. Taking photos isn't the real problem. The problem is that our minds have entered something called documenting mode. When we focus too much on recording an experience, our brain doesn't fully store the memory. Why? Because part of the brain assumes, the phone saved it already. I don't have to. So instead of creating memories, we begin collecting archives. We filter out our tears. We crop out our loneliness. We hide our exhaustion behind brightness and color. And slowly, we begin believing that our life should look exactly like our profile. But when real life feels messy, or boring, or painful, we start thinking something is wrong with us. When in truth, reality has never been perfect. And anything that is perfect has never been reality. Have you ever noticed something strange? Someone might look quiet, maybe even tired. But the moment a camera appears, something changes instantly. A bright smile. A cheerful pose. A sudden burst of happiness that seems to come out of nowhere. I call this the staged happiness trap. We've slowly turned happiness from a feeling into a performance. Those people sitting in the park, staring at their screens during sunset, weren't there to experience the moment. They were there to collect content. The smiles, the candid shots, the living my best life captions, all carefully staged for the camera. But the saddest part of the play begins after the camera turns off. The phone goes down. The smile fades. And the face returns to something neutral, or sometimes even emptier than before. Because all the energy was spent performing happiness. We've built a world where happiness almost feels incomplete unless there's proof of it. But what kind of happiness is it, if it depends on likes and comments? This staged happiness leaves something behind. A quiet emptiness. Because we've replaced real joy with visible joy. But here's the strange truth. The most beautiful parts of life are usually the ones that are never recorded. A deep late-night conversation with no phones on the table. A moment of crying that no one witnessed, but somehow made your heart lighter. Rain falling on your face while your eyes close, not because you need a photo, but because you want to feel the cold drops sink into your soul. These moments never go viral. They receive no shares. They leave no record except inside your heart. And maybe that's exactly what makes them so valuable. Because when a moment is unseen, it becomes pure. It belongs to no audience, no competition, no judgment. It becomes a quiet relationship between you and your own existence. Real happiness doesn't make noise. It's a gentle smile that appears when you're simply being, without an audience, without a performance. So, the question isn't whether we should leave social media. The real question is simpler. How do we find ourselves again? Stop managing life. Start living it. Because in the end, your followers won't remember what you posted, but you will remember the moments you truly lived. So here's a small challenge. Just for the next 24 hours. Do something you won't tell anyone about. Go somewhere where you won't take out your phone. Spend a moment that stays only in your heart, not in your gallery. And notice something. When no one is watching, you suddenly feel lighter, freer. Because a life that looks perfect online is not always a life that feels peaceful inside. But a life that is real is always beautiful, whether the world sees it or not. So ask yourself honestly, are you living for yourself? Or are you just trying to look alive? And honestly, everything we talked about in this video, the pressure to be seen, the invisible audience in our minds, and the struggle to live a life that actually feels real, is something I've been exploring in my own life for many years. During that journey inward, I felt inspired to write a book called Where the Silent Soul Awakens. In it, I share many of my personal experiences with meditation, spiritual love, the idea of no mind, and finding balance between yin and yang in everyday life. The book is now available in 10 different languages. So if you ever feel like exploring these ideas a little deeper, you can check it out. I've left the link in the description below. And just as a small thank you for being here and supporting the channel, I've also added a 20% discount on my ebooks, the audiobook, and my mindfulness journals. And if you ever feel like walking this path a little closer with me, you can even become an affiliate partner and grow together with the community. You'll find everything waiting for you in the description. And if this video made you pause and reflect for a moment, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd genuinely love to hear how you see this. And if you enjoy conversations like this about life and awareness, you're always welcome to subscribe and join me for the next one.